Welcome back to the WellBeing Check. I'm Stephanie Cunningham, spiritual life coach, Reiki master, and someone who has spent the better part of 2 decades learning how to actually trust the voice inside of her instead of drowning it out. Today we're talking about intuition, what it actually is, why it gets so easily confused with fear, anxiety, and wishful thinking, what the clairs are, yes, clairvoyance, clairaudience, all of it. And no, you don't have to be a psychic to have them. And of course, how to actually develop this thing you were born with, but probably stopped listening to somewhere around kindergarten. If you've ever had a gut feeling you ignored and regretted ignoring it, this episode is for you. Let's go. We love to make intuition complicated, mystical, reserved for special people with special gifts. It's none of that. In simple terms, your intuition is your own personal life guidance system. It is knowledge that comes from within, insight from your soul. And here's the part I genuinely find fascinating. That insight is a combination of a couple things. The wisdom your soul has gathered since its inception, everything it has ever learned, ever known, ever been, plus real-time information you're picking up on right now from the energy around you. Other people's energy, cosmic energy, source energy, all of that gets combined into a split-second, immediate download. A message that directs you toward the truth and connects you with your highest good. That's intuition. It's not a parlor trick, not a sixth sense reserved for those chosen few, your own built-in GPS system. Your intuition is your hidden genius. It's optimized specifically for you, your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, your unique way of moving through the world, which is almost certainly different from everyone else's, right? It's not generic advice. It's custom-built guidance designed by you, for you, running quietly in your background at all times. Its whole job is to keep your personal operating system running at peak ability. And we get in trouble, real trouble, actually, when we override it. Of course we do. When we make decisions based on what everyone else is doing, when we decide from fear, from anxiety, from a place of lack, instead of from that deeper internal knowing, that's when we get in trouble. When we actually listen, you know what happens. Life goes more smoothly. We become happier, healthier versions of ourselves, and we become better for everyone else around us too. So imagine how incredible that would be if we all just listened to our internal guidance so we can be better for ourselves and each other. So good. All right, so here's where it gets tricky. Because listening to your inner guidance system is not as simple as it sounds, especially if you're not in regular practice with it. And if you're not, it's very easy to confuse intuition with a long list of imposters: fear, anxiety, wishful thinking, desire, insecurity, bias. That's a big list, girl. And if intuition can be mistaken for all of those things, you might be asking, and this is a fair question, how can I trust it at all? The honest answer is that it takes time to relearn the language of intuition. And I want you to notice the word relearn, because you didn't come into this world needing to learn this from scratch. You came into this with your intuition on fire. As children, and we see this all the time, we just knew things. We trusted our gut instantly without overthinking, without needing permission. And then, almost immediately, we got trained to stop doing that. Subtly and not so subtly. By parents, school, every institution we moved through, we were taught to trust the external over the internal. We were told directly or indirectly that we don't have the answers, that we're not the expert, that the scientists, the scholars, the professionals, the people with credentials, they know, not us, they know. We were sometimes even taught that listening to our gut is foolish, dangerous even irresponsible. So our internal guidance system, the one we were born fluent in, gets drowned out by the noise of the external. And we start believing whatever voice is the loudest, not whatever voice feels right. That's the whole problem in that one sentence. We traded what feels true for what was the loudest. And most of us have been doing that for so long, we forgot there was another way. The good news, you can relearn the language. It's still there. It never actually left. So, what does intuition actually feel like? What does it look like in real life? Intuition is soul speak, and its language is frequency. It has different dialects, and you're probably more fluent in one or two of them than others. And these dialects have names that you've probably heard of before, usually attached to psychics and mystics on TV, but I need you to hear this very clearly. These come standard on every human model, stock, not just special people, everyone, including you. So these are called the clairs. We have clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. This is the visual dialect, and it might show up as mental visualization, vivid dream imagery, or as noticing the same number sequences again and again until you can't ignore them anymore. If you just see how something fits together, engineers and artists often experience this, that's clairvoyance at work. Clairaudience, which is clear hearing. This is the audible dialect. Hearing your name called when no one's there, music with no clear source, overhearing a stranger's conversation that happens to contain exactly the piece of information you needed at exactly the right moment. Sometimes it shows up as high ringing or buzzing sound in your ears out of nowhere. Clairsentience is clear feeling. This is the physical, emotional dialect. Emotions that arrive out of nowhere with no clear trigger. Feeling other people's emotions as if they were your own. The sensation of being touched when no one is actually there. Maybe smelling something, perfume, smoke, a specific scent that isn't actually present. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know this is the empath's dialect. Claircognizance, clear knowing. This is the internal knowing dialect, knowing something without any idea how you know it, right? Completing a task with no instructions and somehow doing it right. Speaking words of wisdom that feel like they came through you rather than from you. Getting a download for an idea or a project fully formed, out of nowhere, or that eerie feeling of, I knew that was going to happen, right after it happens. Most people describe claircognizance as a gut feeling. That's it. That's the clair. You've probably been calling it that your whole life without even knowing what it actually was. For me, it's a blend. Claircognizance and clairsentience. I'll just know something with zero evidence to back it up, and I'll also feel it land in my body before my brain actually catches up. A tightness, a pull, sometimes a wave of calm certainty, depending on what the message is. I had a moment with a client a while back. A knowing washed over me mid-session about something she hadn't said a word about. I almost didn't say it out loud, but I did anyway. And it was exactly what she needed to hear. That's the work. Noticing it, trusting it, saying it anyway. And what I wanted you to take from all four of these is that you have access to all of them. You can develop any of them further if you want to, but you were born with, one or two that are naturally stronger. Say your native dialect, so to speak. Part of this work is figuring out which ones are already speaking loudest to you so you know where to start listening more closely. All right, let's do it. Let's talk practicality, right? We want to talk about the benefits, the real, tangible benefits, the things you gain when you actually listen. When you listen to your intuition, you make better decisions. Full stop. Not perfect ones, better ones. Decisions that are actually aligned with you instead of decisions made from fear or pressure or what everyone else is doing. You get better health, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, because your intuition is constantly trying to nudge you toward what your body and your life actually need, if you'll let it. You develop real discernment about who to trust and who not to trust. You start being able to tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined one, which, if you're someone who lives with anxiety, is a genuinely life-changing skill. You become better at taking care of the people you love because you're operating from clarity instead of noise. And this is my favorite one. It makes you happier and more content. You get little sparks, a pull to listen to a certain song, to call a certain person, to take a certain route. And when you follow those sparks, more often than not, you find out it was exactly what you needed. So what happens when you don't listen to it, which we've been doing probably most of our lives? When you consistently ignore your intuition, here's what happens. It starts to quiet down. It doesn't scream forever. Eventually, if you keep overriding it, it gets harder to hear. Almost like it stops working, even though it never actually does. You feel disconnected, foggy, like you can't get clear on anything, no matter how much you think about it. Your anxiety increases because your inner guide isn't getting through, and your nervous system knows something is off, even if your conscious mind doesn't. You start attracting more of exactly what you don't want. More wrong relationships, more misaligned jobs, more situations that drain you, because you keep making choices from the loud external voice instead of the quiet internal one. Sometimes it shows up as actual physical harm. Your body forcing the message through because you wouldn't receive it any other way. And you end up with things you don't even really want. A life built on other people's expectations, sitting here wondering how you got here, complete with an autoimmune disease and chronic pain. None of that is punishment. None of that is punishment. It's just what happens when a guidance system gets ignored enough for so long. It doesn't go away. It just gets louder in less comfortable ways. Okay, let's get to the next practical part. How to actually build this back up. Here are a couple things. Tune out negative self-talk. That inner critic is not your intuition. It's the opposite of it, dressed up to sound convincing. Shut out others, at least temporarily. You cannot hear your own quiet voice if you're constantly absorbing everyone else's opinions about your life. Of course, journal, get it out of your head onto paper where you can actually see the patterns. Pay attention to your dreams. Engage with nature. This is one of the fastest ways to quiet the noise and reconnect. Feel your body. Notice the physical sensations. They're data. Learn to read them instead of dismissing them. Do something repetitive. Walking, knitting, washing dishes. Repetitive motion frees up space for the quieter voice to come through. Ask it directly. Genuinely ask your intuition a question and then sit in silence for the answer. Learn how your intuition is speaking to you, how it feels specifically for you. Your intuition has a signature. Maybe it's calm certainty. Maybe it's specific physical sensation. Learn what yours is. And listen. Be receptive. And then, and this is what people tend to skip over, act on it. Because the truth is, the best way to grow your intuition is to practice listening and practice acting. Catherine Hall wrote in an article for Tiny Buddha that the intuitive voice is a powerful one, but it often needs a quiet, calm, reflective environment to find its way. And look, staying in a permanent state of quiet meditation is not realistic for anyone with an actual life, But taking action on what you believe your intuition is telling you, that is what makes it grow stronger. That is how you learn to recognize its voice with more and more confidence. Every time you act on a hunch and it turns out to be right, you build trust. Every time you ignore one and regret it, you're also learning something. You just usually learn it the harder way, right? Either way, the practice is the same. Listen, act, notice what happens, and repeat. I'm going to leave you with 2 questions. I want you to sit with them. Don't rush past them. First, who is guiding your life right now? Is it actually you, your own internal wisdom, your own deep knowing? Is it fear? Is it what everyone else expects? Is it the loudest voice in the room instead of the truest one? And then the next question is, how is it working out for you? What I know to be true is that you were born fluent in this language. Somewhere along the way, the world convinced you to stop speaking it. But it never actually left you. It has been there the whole time, waiting for you to get quiet enough, brave enough, and consistent enough to listen again. You don't need to be a psychic. You don't need special powers. You already have the wiring. You just have to use it. Until next time, be well.